Good morning, everybody. My name is Luke Johnson. I'm co-founder and CEO of NuNature Labs. And NuNature Labs is a vertically integrated prescription CBD company. And primarily, we're distributing in the Brazilian marketplace right now, and our supply chain is based in the US. So my presentation is going to begin just with a macro overview of the global cannabis market, then get a little bit more specific into CBD. And then we'll get into the NuNature story as it relates to our experience in the Brazilian marketplace. So global cannabis market, you can see it's growing at a pretty healthy rate, 16% year over year. Represented in US billions of dollars there, you got 42 billion in 2022, expected to scale to 103 billion by 2028. And the cannabis market breakdown by usage, you can see 46% recreational, 28% therapeutic, 26% medical. So for NuNature, we're exclusively focused on the prescription market, so in the medical side of things. And at this time, we're just doing CBD products and full spectrum, specifically CBD products. You can see the industry as a whole is generating quite a lot of jobs, which is very good for the economies and the local marketplaces in which these businesses are being generated. And you can see about 476 million total users of medical cannabis in 2022, representing $3.2 billion marketplace. So more specifically on CBD, CBD market size is 16 billion globally last year in 2022, or I guess 2 years ago now, and expected to scale to 32 billion by 2027. So you can see similar growth rate around 15%. And the market share so far has been dominated by North America, which has very good penetration. And Europe is coming on fast. You got places like Israel and Spain and Portugal and now Germany. And then the Asia Pacific region, of course, here in Thailand, Australia, and New Zealand, with very limited penetration in the Latin American market, which is primarily where we operate. And then, of course, Africa is slow to come along. So CBD is gaining traction as a solution for health and wellness. People find it to be very effective for a variety of use cases, be it mental well-being related to stress, anxiety, or physical well-being, chronic pain, seizures, other applications like Parkinson's. And the CBD offerings have diversified quite a lot over time, beginning with the oral tinctures, but now expanding into topicals and other consumable products. The conditions treated by the use of CBD. So the main pathologies that we're seeing CBD be used the most frequently for are anxiety and depression, chronic pain, arthritis, and insomnia, sleeplessness. As far as the Brazilian marketplace goes, it's about 9.3% of the population is suffering from anxiety and 5.8% from depression. And these use cases, anxiety, sleeplessness, depression, autism, these are all pathologies that we're seeing a growing percentage of the population is having to endure. So the use of CBD is expected to expand as the use case and the population that's enduring these use cases is also growing, unfortunately. You can see the growth rate for the chronic pain treatment. That's one of the biggest markets for sure for CBD. And one of the most impactful as well for people that suffer from chronic pain on a daily basis. It's something that's very difficult for them physically, but also mentally and emotionally. So it's good that CBD has proven to be an effective alternative treatment for these people in comparison to traditional pain treatments, as well as insomnia. And so those are two of the fastest growing marketplaces, both in Brazil and in the world. So getting into the Brazilian prescription cannabis markets. In 2015, Brazil passed their first RDC. RDC is just a terminology for the laws that they pass there. And it created the possibility of prescription. And so typically in the US, most CBD is over the counter. You can go in and buy it at a million different places, from a gas station to a massage parlor or your doctor. But here in Brazil, it's prescription only. And so there's two different types of prescriptions. One's a white prescription, which is a little bit less regulated form of prescription. And then there's a blue prescription, which is for more controlled substances. And it's a very strictly regulated prescription. And so in 2019, RDC 327 was passed. And RDC 327 is the most strict rules allowing for the prescription of cannabis in Brazil. And that's the blue prescription for controlled substances. That's the marketplace that NuNature is operating in. So we are producing our prescription CBD products with full prescription grade QA and QC protocols and facilities. And over time, you can see that they've developed a couple other laws or modified some existing rules. But RDC 327 is the focus for NuNature. Medical cannabis in Brazil is growing very fast. We saw globally the trend was about 16–15%, but in Brazil it's growing at over 30%. Part of that is because the penetration into the marketplace, which you saw, is very low, only at about 4%. So we're starting from a low baseline, but the market in Brazil is growing very quickly, and in Latin America in general. The medical cannabis breakdown is still mostly oral tinctures, so the oils, but you also see some edibles, lotions, capsules, other products coming on. Growth of 144% in doctors prescribing medical cannabis in Brazil from 2021 to 2022. And over the last couple of years, we've seen that trend continue. Latin America as a whole is becoming more flexible or receptive to prescription medical cannabis. So you're seeing places like Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Haiti, Jamaica, Mexico, Peru, Uruguay are all allowing some form of medical cannabis usage. And another unique aspect to the Latin America market in comparison to the US market is the ability for the government to supply medical cannabis to their populations and through their state-approved health programs. So the medical cannabis industry has been gaining strength in Brazil, attracting new companies and healthcare professionals that assist a growing number of consumers. The doctors that are prescribing has been growing steadily, up to over 15,000 as of 2022. And the number of the consumers in Brazil that are using medical cannabis has grown very quickly at an average growth rate of over 60% per year. 344% growth in the number of approved importation requests. So in Brazil, as a patient in Brazil, you can go to the court system and petition for your right to have CBD as medicine. And we've seen that grow quite a lot over the last 3 years, where these individuals are going to the courts and explaining why they need the right and the access to CBD, and the courts are siding with them. And as of 2022, there were 14 companies that were approved under RDC 327, which is the law that allows you to distribute prescription-grade cannabis to the pharmacies in Brazil. I don't know how much of you speak Portuguese, but there's some media highlights down there as far as news in the Brazilian media. And the first headline is the pharmacies are selling products that are based in cannabis has increased by 340%. The market of CBD in Brazil has expanded in the world, and the investments in Brazil has expanded as well. And you see the political environment is becoming more accepting of CBD in Brazil. We've also seen a lot of consolidation over the last few years. So there was this huge wave and move into the CBD space and the cannabis space in 2018, 2019, led by the US and Canadian marketplaces. And as things became very competitive and matured a little bit, we've seen a lot of consolidation. So getting into NuNature specifically, NuNature was founded in 2020. And this was about 2 months after Brazil had passed the new laws for RDC 327, which was in December 2019. And so from 2020 to about April of 2020, 2021, we were working on our application process with the health authority in Brazil, which is called Anvisa. They're the equivalent of the FDA. And so for that 16 months, we were working on our application. We eventually got approved. And at the time of approval, we were the first company in the world to get a hemp-derived full-spectrum CBD tincture approved for a prescription-grade product. And we got 2 products that were approved. They're both 1-ounce oral tinctures. One's 34 milligram per ml concentration. The other is 17, which is more geared towards children. So we were the second company overall approved in Brazil, and the first company approved with a hemp-derived full-spectrum product. And so we began our manufacturing process after that approval. And again, because it's a prescription product, all of our facilities have to be pharmaceutical grade CGMP compliant. So we're using a co-packer, TriRx, who's manufacturing our finished goods. They're one of the largest prescription drug manufacturers in the US. So their facilities are very beautiful, large, and up to par with prescription grade production. And so October 2021, we got our first shipments into Brazil. We had our first sale for 10,000 units to Raia Drogasil. Raia Drogasil is the largest pharmacy chain in Brazil. They have about 2,500 pharmacies all over the country. And so for the last 2 years and 4 months, we've been in the marketplace in Brazil with good distribution into the pharmacies. And we've been working on educating both doctors, prescribers, and government officials on why CBD should be prescribed and how CBD should be prescribed. So these are our 2 products here. They're both full spectrum oral tinctures, and they're currently being prescribed for a variety of use cases, including anxiety, depression, insomnia, arthritis, substance abuse and addiction, autism, chronic pain, MS, Parkinson's. And we are working on developing our product portfolio over time so that we can expand into some higher strength tinctures and also into some topical products. So our supply chain is vertically integrated. We're one of the only companies that's doing prescription grade cannabis with a vertically integrated supply chain. So our farms, which are CGAP, are located in Colorado in the United States. We produce everything organically. We do not spray any pesticides of any kind, organic or otherwise. And we do our extraction in our own pharmaceutical grade API production, where we're producing the full spectrum CBD distillate. So we're producing our own seeds, growing our own seeds, extracting that biomass, producing about a 90 to 93% pure full spectrum CBD distillate. And that CBD distillate is the API, active pharmaceutical ingredient, that gets used to manufacture the finished goods. And those finished goods are produced also in the United States at TriRx's facility. So once we have those tinctures finished and ready, we're currently importing them to Brazil and distributing them throughout Brazil into the pharmacies where patients can take their prescription and go pick up their product at the pharmacy. So our ecosystem, it's a 140-acre farm in Colorado, got 11,500 square feet of greenhouse, 4,500 square foot processing facility, and our co-packer, TriRx in Alabama, currently has capacity for about 4.8 million units per year, which our supply chain can support, but we're not doing that many prescriptions yet. So we have a lot of scale to be able to build into our supply chain. Everything's up to par with the Anvisa, FDA, USDA. So our distribution center, again, pharmaceutical grade, everything's controlled, and we currently have distribution to all 27 states in Brazil. And we're working with the largest pharmacy chains in Brazil, Raia Drogasil, which I mentioned, but also DPSP, Pague Menos. And we have 66 pharmacy chains that are currently stocking and distributing our products in Brazil. So if we're looking at the timeline to go through this process, it takes a lot of time and a lot of money to be compliant with pharmaceutical grade production. So you're looking at the onset, which is stability studies, where you're taking your products and running them through stability studies to make sure that they're stable, which is a standard requirement for prescription products. And then you're going through the application process, in this case in Brazil with Anvisa, to register your product with the health authority. And after receiving your approval, you get into the production and importation process. And finally, the goal in Brazil is to get to permanent registration. And to get to permanent registration, to have a registered prescription drug in Brazil, you're required to do your stability studies, your preclinical testing, which you're testing for toxicology and other tests related to product safety. And then you also have to do 3-phase clinical trial. So the regulatory requirements are pretty intense, but they're standard for most prescription drugs. And the last thing that we have left to complete is our 3-phase clinical trial. So we're currently evaluating several different options for that. Our scientific partnerships in Brazil, we have one with UFRJ, and we're evaluating a clinical trial for autism. And we have another opportunity to work with USP, which is one of the top universities in Sao Paulo. And that clinical trial would be aimed at registering our 34 milligram product for general anxiety disorder. And finally, we're also working with UFRRJ to study the 17 milligram product and the use for animals, in this case for cats that have osteoarthritis. So what comes next for NuNature is finish our regulatory requirements with respect to stability studies, preclinical testing, and our 3-phase clinical trials. Register these products permanently with Anvisa, expand the product portfolio, increase access to government health programs. So in Brazil, there's a lot of public health programs that are available. And over time, there will be the opportunity for companies that have gone through this QA/QC process with respect to prescription grade products to both contribute and participate in the government health programs. And then long term, and the motivation for being here is to find new distribution channels besides Brazil. So right now, we've just been operating in Brazil, but our supply chain capacity allows us to potentially expand to other countries outside Brazil. And then I think ultimately what you'll see is obviously blockchain integration from the agricultural processes to biometrics, facial scanning, fingerprint scanning, which is related to the e-commerce platforms that people are developing, where you can meet with a doctor online to get your prescription. But the concern with the health authorities for the e-commerce is being able to track that prescription is going where it's supposed to the right patient. And that's where biometrics comes in. So what NuNature offers is the vertically integrated supply chain from seed to finished goods. Everything is pharmaceutical grade, so CGAP, CGMP production, and quality first and foremost, which leads to efficacy, right? The product has to work at the end of the day. So what we're going through is this process where we are clinically validating that these products that we're producing with our supply chain are proven to be effective for the use cases that we're having them prescribed for. In addition to that, we have training platforms available for sales reps and prescribers. And this is a picture of one of the fields from our farm last year. And that's about a 60-acre field with 500,000 or so plants that are planted in it. So we're looking for additional distribution partners in new markets. If you are somebody that is operating in the prescription cannabis market, or works with pharmacies or medical distributors or hospitals or research organizations, then you're somebody that we would very much like to talk to and see if there's any ability to collaborate, as well as market influencers. If you're a lawyer or an attorney in a new market, that's helping to craft new rules and regulations for prescription cannabis in a new market. We'd be interested in talking with you as well. So together, I think we're looking for anybody who has a passion and a professionalism for the prescription cannabis market that we can collaborate with. So in conclusion, again, we're vertically integrated, seed to biomass to extraction to finished good manufacturing, all prescription grade. And we believe that the prescription cannabis industry is the door that is going to open up for additional plant-derived products that are traditionally Eastern medicine, right? Plant-derived medicine that is being put through the rigors of Western validation protocols. So not just cannabis. I think cannabis is the leader for taking this plant medicine and running it through clinical trials and clinical testing to prove beyond a doubt that it does successfully work for the application that we all already know it works for from thousands of years of trial and error. But I think this opportunity is that it will open the door for other medications that are plant-derived beyond just cannabis. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is that it actually works, right? So we're trying to go through the process to take this product and show beyond a doubt that it is proven to be successful as a medication for these use cases, which is critical for the medical community to be more open and receptive of these products. That's it. Thank you.